Hey budget gardeners, Vita Loca here. Join me today as I show you how to plant impatient seeds. So let's go. I absolutely love impatiens. I think they're very pretty, and there are a lot of different kinds of impatiens out there. There are the Beacon Impatiens, there are the New Guinea Impatiens, there are the Balsam Impatiens, and there might be some others, but those are the three that I'm very familiar with. And the one that I have the most experience with growing in my yard are the Beacon Impatiens. I made a video showing you how easy it was to collect the seeds from a Beacon Impatiens plant. And I'll be sure to post a link to that video down in the description box in case you're interested in looking at that video as well. Based on my zip code, my last frost date is around the middle of May. And today is February 17th, which means I have about 3 months until my last frost date. Beacon impatiens take a long time to grow. So you typically want to start your seeds about 10 to 12 weeks before your last frost. Well, here we are. It's about 12 weeks before my last frost, so it's a great time for me to be starting these seeds. The seeds that we're going to be sowing today are seeds that I collected in the last few years. So I'm not really sure about what color plant that is going to be created. It'll be a surprise for both you and I. But for me, I am happy to just have plants in my yard. I'm very happy to have lots of impatiens. Where I live, there is a fair amount of shade, and impatiens thrive in shady conditions. So I like planting them especially in my hanging baskets. I like to put them in my window boxes. I even like them out in the landscape. So I'm planning on growing a lot of impatiens this year for that particular reason. How about you? Have you ever started impatiens from seed? If so, please drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you and know how it turned out for you. Were you successful? And what were some tips or tricks that you would like to share with anyone else reading the comments? And if you've never started impatiens from seed, what are you waiting for? Now is a great time. There's still plenty of time to order your seeds. If you didn't collect your own seeds, that's perfectly fine. You can easily order the seeds online. A lot of different seed companies are selling the seeds. And if this year is not the year for you to start your impatient seeds, that is quite okay. It's still good to watch the video just to see what's involved. And then in the fall, when I show you again how to collect the seeds from an impatiens plant, you can give it a try and then try sowing your own seeds next year. So I want to share some basic information when it comes to starting impatiens from seed. The temperature requirement is about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and my house stays about that temperature range. And in the past, I've always grown all my plants without a heat mat. But this year, I will be putting these seeds specifically that we're starting today on a heat mat just to speed up the germination, because it's such a long period of time for these plants to grow that I'd rather have a head start on that. And when it comes to my heat mat, I have it plugged in the whole entire time. It's not on a timer. And when a majority of the seeds have germinated, that's when I take the plants off of the heat mat. Now, it's very important to know that when you plant your impatient seeds, light aids in the germination of the seed. And what that means is you don't want to cover the seeds. And if you do cover the seeds, you want to cover them just barely. It's really important for the most part that the seeds are exposed, but there's that fine balance of having the seeds exposed and making sure they don't dry out. So just keep that in mind. I've read conflicting things when it comes to how long it takes for the impatient seeds to germinate. I'm sure it varies based on the temperature conditions, probably even the conditions within your house, the humidity levels. So I'll be sure to show you in a future video how long it took for these particular seeds to germinate. When it comes to starting your seeds, you can use either potting mix or seed starting mix. For the smaller seeds, I do prefer to use something fluffier like a seed starting mix. That's been my own personal preference. These seeds are very small, so I want them to have the best chance of success with growing. And I feel like with a heavier potting mix, something that has a lot of perlite in it, it might be really hard for these seeds to take off. But my experience has been it's better for me to start these in something fluffier like a seed starting mix. I like to use my own seed starting mix that I make, but you can definitely buy your own. And I use 2 parts of peat moss to 1 part of vermiculite. You can also use cocoa coir, and there are a lot of other mixes out there that you can use. And my seed starting mix is in this pot right here. I just actually made a fresh batch of it today, and I added just this very small amount of lime in here as well, just to offset the pH and the peat moss. And then I took a tea kettle full of water, I boiled it, and I put the boiling hot water on top of this mixture. I mixed it up really well just to make sure I get even everything that's on the bottom. So that's one way of saturating or pre-moistening the seed starting mix. And then I covered it with a plate and I let it sit there for a few hours. And the whole reason that I like to add boiling hot water is I like to kill off any possible fungus gnat eggs, but that's optional. If you've had luck using whatever you use in your house for a seed starting mix or a potting mix and you don't have any issues with fungus gnats, then you don't even have to do that step. It's my preference and it really works well for me. But now at this point, this seed starting mix is ready to go. It's fully cooled down. And I like to sow my seeds in restaurant to go containers. I have a lot of these and they're in different sizes. I like to put holes in the bottom of the containers, which allows for the water to drain, but also when I want a bottom water, I can just put this in a bigger container that is a solid bottom container. And what will happen is it will soak up the water that way. I usually heavily sow my seeds in this type of container. But then once they get a couple of leaves on them, I like to prick them out or take them out of the container and I like to pot them up. And generally with impatiens, I like to pot them up into a 6-pack. Now the seeds we're starting today, since they're a number of years old, I will definitely be heavily sowing this because I know that not every single seed is going to germinate. But you don't need to use a container like this. If you want to just go straight to a 6-pack or something bigger, you can definitely do that. I feel strongly that we all have different situations when it comes to seed starting. So let's say you don't have a lot of space under your grow lights. Then this type of situation works well. But if you have a ton of space under your grow lights and you don't have a lot of time to do the whole pricking out of a container like this, by all means, just planting the seeds directly in a 6-pack or even a bigger container should be fine. So sometimes you just have to, be prepared that you are going to pot up plants, especially plants that take a long time to germinate, like the impatiens. Here are all my seed packets, and you can see that they're all in just clear bags, and that's because they're seeds that I collected myself. I have mixed impatiens. So when I say mixed, it's different colors. They could be white, they could be hot pink, light pink, these were collected in 2023. We have mixed impatiens, and this is from 2021. Now, I'm not sure how long impatient seeds stay viable. So when it comes to seeds collected in 2021, I am very likely just going to plant this whole packet because I want to get rid of them at this point this year. And if they all germinate, that's fine. I have hot pink impatiens, and these were from 2018. Light pink impatiens, 2019. Another light pink from 2018. There's a mixed impatiens from 2023. And then these are just impatiens from 2020 that are mixed color. So let's go in for a closer look so I can show you my process for sowing the impatient seeds. Right here is the seed starting mix, and you can see how nice and fluffy it is. And I will start the seeds off in the seed starting mix. But when I do bump up the little seedlings after they have a couple of sets of leaves on them, I will be putting them in more of a potting mix that has perlite in it. But this is all just peat moss as well as the vermiculite. And you can see when I squeeze it, there's no water coming out, which means it's a perfect consistency. It's not too wet, but also notice that it's holding its shape. And that's very important. That means that it's saturated enough, and that's very important for seeds to be able to germinate. You don't want it to be too dry. And what we're going to do is go ahead and add the seed starting mix into this container. I'm not putting the seed starting mix all the way to the top, and the reason for that is I want to give enough room for the seedlings as they start emerging so that they can grow. And notice that I'm just pressing down on the seed starting mix. That's important. You just want to make sure that it's level as best as possible. And you can see, again, it's labeled Impatiens, it's light pink, and I collected these in 2018. So now is a good time for me to just sow all of these seeds, and we'll see if any of them even germinate. Hopefully a good amount of them do, but you never know. And this one here, again, is light pink, and it's from 2019. What I'm going to do is put a divider in the center here, and that way we know which seeds were from 2018, which seeds were from 2019. It's not necessary to do that, but I'm just going to do it just for fun. And look how small the seeds are. There is some of the chaff, which is just the material from the seed pod. Otherwise, the little brown specks, those are the seeds. There are quite a few seeds there. I tell you, you can save a lot of money by collecting your own seeds, especially if you're not too picky about a certain variety or having a certain color. I don't even remember the last time I bought impatient seeds. That's my goal because I am big into gardening on a budget, is I really want to be able to grow as much as I can so that I can enjoy it, be it flowers or vegetables. But then also I want to be able to collect my own seeds. Otherwise, it can get very expensive. It's a great hobby. I love gardening, but I even love gardening more when it's on a budget. So you can see I am just sowing these extremely heavily. What I'm going to do next is I'm actually just going to press down because I want to make sure that those seeds have good contact with the soil. I have seen people say that they try putting vermiculite and sprinkling it on the top because vermiculite allows light to come in and it also retains the moisture. I've never done that. In all the years that I've been gardening, I've never sprinkled vermiculite on top, and my seeds have come up just fine. But if that works for you, that's one recommendation, is to put the vermiculite on top. We're going to go ahead and sow these seeds on the other side. I will definitely be giving updates on not only these impatient seeds, but other vegetable and flower seedlings that I'll be growing during the season. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. If you like this content, kindly hit the like button. And if you know someone that might enjoy this type of content, please be sure to share a link from my YouTube channel to them. I'm going to go ahead and press down on those seeds as well. Even though the seed starting mix has already been pre-moistened, I'm going to go ahead and just add the tiniest amount of water to the top. Next, it's good to cover this with some sort of a clear humidity dome. And what I like to use is plastic wrap. That works the same way as a humidity dome. It allows light to come in, but it also keeps it nice and humid and moist inside of here, which is what the seeds need to germinate. The next thing I like to do is label the seeds that are in here. And I just said 2019 on this side, 2018 on that side. It'll be a fun test to see if either of them germinate, and if so, which ones. Hopefully both do. This will end up going on my heat mat. Once the seedlings start emerging, I will take off the clear plastic wrap. I will remove this off of the heat mat, and then I will put this under my LED shop lights. I'm so excited that we have finally planted the impatient seeds. Now this is just some of them. What I will do is I will plant the rest of the impatient seeds here using the same exact process. And I'll be sure to give you updates on these seedlings as well as many other seedlings that I've started. And I plan on making videos about every 1 to 2 weeks just to do a tour and give you updates on the plants and how they're looking. And then if you continue following me, I will show you how I go about hardening them off and how I get them planted out in the landscape. I hope you're able to enjoy your gardens, and until the next video, make it a great day with gardening.